Colt Nation, Miss Waddell here. I hope you guys are having a fabulous day. I am here to record our lesson for the week. Before I get started, I just want to say that I hope you guys are enjoying your all's beautiful weather that's been outside lately. It's been perfect out there. Hope you guys are getting some exercise and being able to just kind of relax and unwind outside now that it's officially fall. With that being said, I am trying to share my screen. There we go. It's finally going. Bear with me. So make sure that you guys have something to take notes on, or like your iPad that you can take some screenshots of what it is that I'm going over in my slideshow presentations, because when you guys have your assignment at the end of this, a lot of today is going to be based on the scenarios that we talk about throughout this lesson. There is a reflection piece to it as well, but there is a couple parts on the assignment that refer directly to the lesson. So you're going to have to make sure that you follow along so that you guys can answer the questions on the assignments accurately. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and dive into this week's lesson. Today's topic is feel, think, do. And it's the week of September 23rd, so that you know that you're watching the right video. In this lesson today, we are going to learn how emotion, thoughts, and decisions are all connected. But first, I want us to recap what it is that we learned about last week. So last week, we learned about the amygdala and the cortex sections of the brain. Try to think for a second to remember what those sections in the brain did. So we learned about the amygdala and the cortex section. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to kind of think about what those two parts did. So hopefully you guys were right. In the last lesson, we learned how and why strong emotions can affect our decisions. That amygdala part is the part that alerts your brain that an emotion is being felt. The cortex part of your brain is what helps make your decisions. That's what, once the amygdala is triggered, kind of like a warning that your brain is feeling an emotion, then that emotion slowly travels to the cortex part of your brain that allows you to make a decision on how you're going to respond to that feeling. And we learned last week that it hits the amygdala first before it hits the cortex part, which is why sometimes we talked about last week how we go 0 to 60 real quick when we feel an emotion, instead of taking time to give our brain the opportunity to process that emotion so that we can let that cortex part of the brain focus in and help us make a healthy decision on how to respond to that feeling. Today, we're going to learn how emotions, thoughts, and decisions are all connected. So we're taking it a little bit further than what we did last week, but it ties right in perfectly to what we discussed last week. The first thing we need to do is talk about the differences. When you hear emotion versus thoughts, what are the difference between those two? Emotion versus thought. Kind of think about that. I know that the vocabulary is up there, and it says that an emotion is a feeling such as happiness, anger, or fear, and a thought is what it is you say to yourself in your head. So nobody else can hear our thoughts, only we know what our thoughts are. And an emotion is a feeling. We're going to talk about that in depth, about the difference between an emotion and a thought today and how those are connected and intertwined with each other. Keeping in mind what we learned about last week with the amygdala and the cortex. I do want to just reiterate the importance of why it is that we're learning this in these lessons. That way, when you kind of have an understanding about why you're being taught something and how it applies, you're kind of more engaged and interested in that topic. And so emotions is something that everybody feels. We're all human. We all have emotions. We all get triggered by things. We've all had moments where we have regretted an action that we've done as a result of a strong emotion that we've felt. Understanding how our brain is operating really helps us better express our feelings in an appropriate way. And it's going to take some practice, some time, and reflecting before we can get to that point. So before we move on to the next slide, because it's really important that we know the difference between these two things. An emotion, again, is a feeling such as happiness, anger, or fear. And a thought is what it is that we say to ourselves in our head. So let's look at this slide. We're going to see how much you guys already know about the difference between thoughts and emotions. So here is a chart. On your chart, I'm sorry, my puppy's going crazy, and so is my 3-year-old. I need you to stop. So we have some different scenarios on here, and it says, let's see how much you already know about the difference between thoughts and emotions. So I'm going to read these different scenarios to you guys, and we're going to put an X mark. We're going to put an X mark on whether or not it's a thought or whether or not it's an emotion. So the very first scenario, I am no good at soccer. Maybe I should just quit. Is that a thought or is that an emotion? I am no good at soccer. Maybe I should quit. That is going to be a thought. I'm going to put an X right here for thought. You guys are going to have a similar exercise like this in your assignment that follows this. The next scenario, I feel so mad I wasn't picked for the team. Would that be a thought or an emotion? I'm going to give you a second to think about that. I feel so mad I wasn't picked for the team. That is going to be an emotion. If you look at the two different scenarios, I am no good at soccer, maybe I should quit. And the next one, I feel so mad I wasn't picked for the team. And this one right here, it states an emotion. That emotion right here is mad. That's the emotion being felt. I can't believe he did that. What a horrible friend. Is that a thought or an emotion? I'm going to pause for a second. I can't believe he did that. What a horrible friend. That is actually going to be a thought. There's not a feeling that's being stated in there, so it would not be an emotion. The next one, I'm shocked he would do that. Would that be a thought or an emotion? You're right, that's going to be an emotion. It says in that scenario that that person felt shocked. I'm shocked he would do that. So that would be an emotion. All right, hang with me. Here's our last one on this slide. I feel like I will never be as funny as him. Would that be a thought or an emotion? That would be a thought. And if you got tricked on that one, we're going to go over that in just a second. There was actually a trick question in there. Let's take a deeper look. The very last statement was tricky. It had the words, I feel, but it did not actually name a feeling. We often say I feel when we actually mean I think. And after I read that the first time, I thought about it, and I feel like I do that a lot. Well, and I just said I feel like I do that a lot. So I would say I think I do that a lot. So perfect example. So that was a trick question. If you look back at this slide, I feel like I will never be as funny as him. If you saw that word, I feel, and you instantly said emotion, that would be incorrect because it did not list an emotion. So that was actually a thought. All right, so good job. Now we're going to look at a scenario, thought versus emotion, and this is a scenario that would happen in the cafeteria. I'm going to show you a quick video clip. It's only about 42 seconds. We're going to watch a video of students interacting in the cafeteria. As you guys watch, I want you to see if you can identify how the students in the video might feel and think about the video. So let's play this really quickly. Okay.
Hey! What? That's my spot. Sit somewhere else. What's your problem? There's tons of other seats. I was here first.
All right, so like I said, that was a very quick clip. So both Isaac and Derek were feeling strong anger and having thoughts that kept them feeling angry. I'm going to go back to this slide really quick. There's another one here. What are the students in the video feeling and thinking? So here it is. We have Derek and Isaac. They're in the cafeteria. They're surrounded by their friends and peers. Let's think about what it is the students are feeling. So first we're going to click on Derek. What do you think is going on in Derek's head? I'm sure you guys had some ideas when you first watched the video. Derek's emotion that he's feeling is probably anger, and he's surprised. His thoughts that might be going through his head, what's this guy's problem? This guy's trying to pick a fight. Let's look at Isaac. Isaac's emotions, he's feeling disrespected, and he's also angry, just like Derek. A thought that might be going in his head is, he just stole my seat. Let's see how this might play out. So, like I said, both Isaac and Derek were feeling strong anger and having thoughts that kept them feeling angry. As we just discussed, these angry emotions and thoughts could lead them to make a negative decision and fuel a conflict. Let's try to make a connection here real quick, because last week we learned about that amygdala. So that amygdala right now for Derek and Isaac, it's being triggered. There's a warning light going off in their brains, letting them know, hey, we got a strong emotion here. We have to respond. And then that cortex is eventually going to help them make a good choice or a bad choice. Let's see how this plays out. We're going to look at a different scenario. This is Maddox. We're going to see how different thoughts and emotions are connected. Think about the scenario we just witnessed in the cafeteria, and let's jump to this scenario, and then we're going to make some connections. We're going to think about how it is that Maddox is feeling. Maddox and his dad just got into an argument. Maddox called his dad a name, and his dad said, "That's it. I'm taking your phone away for a week." What might Maddox feel? I sure know how I would feel if I was a kid again and my parents told me that. What are some possible feelings going through Maddox's head? He got so angry that he called his dad a name. So that amygdala part was definitely going off in his brain before he had time to really pause and process that emotion. The fact that he called his dad a name, he's pretty angry, right? Because we don't say mean and hurtful things when we're happy. So, and a feeling that he's feeling is probably anger. There's also another feeling that he might be feeling. And I don't know if you guys came up with this at home on your own or not, but he could also possibly be feeling guilty because he knows that he said something that he regretted. So that could be another possible feeling that Maddox is having. If Maddox felt angry that his dad took his phone away, what thoughts might he have? What thoughts are going through Maddox's head right now that his dad just is like, that's it. Your cell phone is mine for a week. If he feels angry, what are some of the thoughts going through his head? And they're probably pretty negative thoughts. It could even be something as hurtful as, I hate my dad. You know, how many times have we said that and we know that we don't actually mean that? We're in the moment, but that might be a thought that's going through our head. Since we know that people can't hear our thoughts, maybe you're using some profanity about how you feel about that situation. Let's look at the other side. What if Maddox felt guilty for calling his dad a name? What thought might he have then? He might be thinking, man, I really overreacted. I shouldn't have called my dad a name. You know, there's some kind of regret that's going on there. I want you to look at the differences between those two different thoughts that could take place. When he's feeling angry that his dad took his phone away, he's going through that hamster wheel of negative thoughts, angry thoughts about his dad. When he's feeling guilty for calling his dad a name, he's going through that hamster wheel of regret. He feels bad about it. He's sorry. He knows he shouldn't have done it. He might not know how to fix it. Let's dig in a little deeper. So we're still talking about Maddox. What decision do you think Maddox would make if he thought, this is so unfair? What decision do you think is going to result from Maddox having that kind of thinking? So here it is. You have a kid named Maddox. He's angry with his dad. His dad just took his cell phone. This is so unfair. He has all these negative thoughts going on in his head. What decision do you think he could make? Maybe he gets angry enough that he kicks something or breaks something. You know, maybe he punches the wall. He takes something and breaks it. He does something that that is expressing his anger. Now let's look at the other side of that. What if he thought, I shouldn't have called him a name? What decision do you think Maddox would make if he had that kind of thinking? I shouldn't have called him a name. Why did I do that? Okay, maybe a decision that he makes is he goes up to his dad and apologizes to him for what he did. So we just explored how it is that emotions can influence thoughts and how our thoughts in turn can affect our decisions. So that's a big cycle there. It's a cycle. The emotions we feel influence our thoughts, and our thoughts affect our decisions. That's something that sounds so simple, yet it's so hard to control in the moment. I want you guys to think of a situation that recently upset you. And it could be anything that upsets you. Maybe you were playing a video game and your brother came in and shut it off. Maybe you were trying to log on for your NTI lesson and your internet wasn't working. And you weren't able to log on. Think of any situation that recently upsets you. What were you feeling? What emotion were you feeling at that time? What were you thinking? What were some of the thoughts that were going in your head? And what decision did you make? So we know that the decisions that we make are often negative when we're in that negative thought process. So when we're in that negative thought process, that is when we're most likely to make those negative decisions. And we know that we need to allow our brain time to process the emotion that we're feeling so that we can trigger the part of the brain that helps us make those healthy decisions. So now you guys have finished this lesson. There is an assignment for this lesson, as always, how you get your credit for Colt Connections for the day. On your Google Classroom for Colt Connections, you're going to see an assignment. It's called Feel, Think, and Do. It's going to be labeled Colt Connections for the week of September 23rd today. Okay. On here, you're simply going to put in your own words, define what a thought is and define what an emotion is. You can use the slides, but you can put it in your own words as requested. Then here you're going to see a chart that is very similar to the chart that was just explained in the slideshow presentation. You're going to read through the scenario. You're going to check or just put an X here or here. It's not going to be both. But you're going to put an X whether or not you think it's a thought or whether or not you think it's an emotion. So you're going to read through each scenario. Then you're going to justify your response. Just looking at the last scenario on the chart, you're going to explain why, whether or not you selected a thought or an emotion. I'm not telling you which one it is. I want you to be able to justify your response as to why you chose that. I do want to take a second to remind you that before you fill out this assignment, please make sure that you make a copy. You would open this up, file, make a copy, and you're making a copy of this assignment. Otherwise, everybody in Colt Nation is going to see your response because you're going to be changing the master copy. All right, then you're going to come down here, and it says Maddox Reflection. You're going to, based on the conversation that we had about Maddox, you're going to fill out this part. I hope this isn't confusing to you, but I filled out the possible emotion, and you're going to type in what a possible thought might be going through his head and a possible decision that he might make. Then you're going to come down here. A possible emotion, I said, is that he felt guilty. He called his dad a name. You guys are going to then fill out a possible thought that could be going through his head at that time and a possible decision that he is making. So I hope that is pretty self-explanatory. Then you're going to come down here, the final part, and this is how we ended the slideshow presentation. But we ended that by doing a self-reflection on you thinking of a situation that recently upset you. And I want you to answer these questions and fill out this chart here. Give a brief explanation about what the situation was. You don't have to go into detail and say everything it is that had happened. It could be something as simple as you got into an argument with your brother, or your brother went and told your parents that you did something and you know you didn't do it, but they sided with your brother. Okay, it can be any type of situation. I want you to come down here. Tell me what was an emotion that you felt during that time, what was a thought that was going through your head, and what was a decision that you made. That, gentlemen, concludes our lesson for today. Make sure that you fill out the assignment, submit it back to your Colt Connections teacher. Remember that if you guys do have any questions, comments, or concerns, that I am here as a service to you guys. I want to be able to help you guys through anything it is that you guys might be struggling with. any celebrations you want to share with me, frustrations, anything that you guys might be having. Maybe you have some anxiety. I know that they're going to be making a decision soon about whether or not we're going to be back in person or not, and that might, have you feeling anxious. So if you have anything that you want to reach out to me about, please don't hesitate, because I would love to chat with you guys and help you all through it. Hopefully I get to see you guys soon. In the meantime, you guys keep up the awesome work on your NTI that you all are doing. Your teachers continue to talk very highly of you all. And make sure that you're going out and enjoying this lovely weather, because remember, when we can get out there, get our bodies moving, and get that oxygen going through our brains, it just helps us get in a better headspace mentally. Okay? So I look forward to talking to you guys again next week. Bye, guys.